Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to Noonday Meditation and Contemplative Prayer Power Hour, where we have been gathering in this virtual sanctuary for over a year now as a refuge, as a place to get away from the drama and the crisis that we got from the pandemic. And I'm so grateful for this year together as we've all learned to grow and expand and open our hearts to a bigger opportunity to live in a world that's more equitable, more loving, more compassionate. It's a place of living from abundance and prosperity instead of having to strive and struggle for our piece of the pie. We're letting go of that old story and all those social and economic structures that are imploding on the weight of their own pain, so that we can come from a place of truth and of heart, and we can all begin to live a life of the path of the heart that knows the truth. There's plenty to go around. There's plenty of abundance. We come from abundance. We create from abundance. We are abundance, and that's how we create. So I'm so excited today to welcome my guest, Damian Nordmann. Damian and I recently met each other in the last few months because we're both part of a marvelous coaching program called the Unstoppable Entrepreneurs. And this program that we're both a part of is truly a place where these people, led mostly by women, I'll say, are leading this world out of abundance. Get my words right here. They're leading us out of this world of scarcity mindset, of scarcity thinking, to actually living in a world of prosperity. Living in a world of wealth creation for ourselves and for the world, not just for ourselves. It's an opportunity for everybody to share in the pie. And that's where we met. And that's why I'm so excited, because he's a fellow mindset coach like myself, and he's a spiritual teacher, and I resonate with him, and I get him, and he gets me. And I was just so excited today when he took my offer to come join us and share his story of transformation, going from one way of being about how we see ourselves, how we see our creator, and how we see the world. Because that's how we change. That's how we make a difference. That's what coaches do. So this month we're celebrating coaches and caregivers, because that's what we do. We care for people. We care for people. We guide through that transformational process so they can have those wonderful lives as anybody. Because we all get stuck. I get stuck. And that's why I have coaches. That's why Damian and I have coaches called the Unstoppable Entrepreneurs, because we need coaching ourselves through our own transformational process. And we're just sharing it with you today. So that's why I'm so excited about having Damian here on the show to share his story, his transformational process that is just unique to him. So Damian, one more thing before we go. I'm going to suggest that, like somebody just did, if you have got, please say hello in the chat. We're on StreamYard, which doesn't allow me to see who you are. I just see a number on the screen. If you do be so kind, it's just like Michael just did. Hey, Michael, nice to see you here today. If you'll just pop into the comment section, say hello, I'm here, or ask questions, we would love that, because we like to make this as interactive as possible. So Michael, thank you for showing up. And again, Damian, we're going to turn it back over to you. And thank you for being here.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, Martin, thank you so much for inviting me. And, I know we kind of, you asked me about doing this, and I was like, how about Friday? And you were like, we can do it. So I appreciate you letting me come on so soon. And like you said, it's just been a real journey with the Unstoppable Entrepreneur program, and my journey as a coach, and then my journey before that. So which when I was with the School of Metaphysics, which I'll try to describe some of that, as clearly and as concisely as I can. But, I was being interviewed on a podcast not long ago, and the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast, and she was having me tell some of my story. And, when I was younger, I went through a lot of different transformations, even as a kid, and coming towards the end of my high school time, I was kind of annoyed, kind of angry, and disappointed with the world, because I saw the world as this amazing place where everything was interconnected, right? And we're all interconnected. Yet the world kept telling me, spirituality is separate from science, which is separate from art, which is separate from business, which is separate from relationship, like all these boxes. And this is back in 1994. So it's like things were even more boxy, back then, I feel like. And so it really got me frustrated and angry and even like sick, right? Like I had come down with swollen prostate and epididymitis and all this kind of weird stuff. And then I found the School of Metaphysics, which is an organization that's dedicated to teaching people how to be whole, how to know your whole self, all this sort of thing, meditation and all this good stuff. And I went through many phases when I was with that organization for 22 years, right?
Oh, wow.
So the first 22 years of my adult life, from 18 to 40, I was with that organization first as a student, and then also a student and a teacher and a director. And then I completed the whole course, and then we continued to be there as a field director, and then eventually the president of that organization. And I went through a lot of different things, right? A lot of highs, a lot of lows. A lot of spiritual education was there. A lot of mindset work I did there and taught that to a lot of people. And I had some amazing breakthroughs, you could say, like, around between 2006 and 2008, right? Where I was struggling for a long time building school centers and branches of the school that I was part of and all this sort of thing. And I had some real breakthroughs around that time, particularly around understanding how I needed to include more people, right? I'd been trying to include people in my creations and in my life, but I kept running into these challenges. And I remember I had been wanting to read this book for years, probably about 5 years. I've been wanting to read this book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. And I finally read that book at that time, around 2006. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And this is a lot of the stuff I had been learning and teaching, but there were some new things and there were some ways I needed to look at things differently. And I guess you could say I sort of opened my mind and heart in a new way around 2006 to say, I'm really ready to put into application these universal laws in a new way. I'm ready to receive people into my life in a new way. And I'm ready to just be with myself in a new way. And from that time, for about 6 years or more, I very much just experienced huge prosperity in my life, right? Huge prosperity with relationships. The school branch I was kind of overseeing in Dallas grew from 2 students to over 60 students within a couple of years. And we just were able to serve people. We were able to have a lot more fun. And that was a big part of the transformation that I made during that time. Was I allowed myself to have more fun, to relax more, to just be more of who I really was. I mean, there was some friends of mine had a son who was, oh gosh, he was probably about 13 at the time, and I would hang out with him a lot and just play. And like, we had a lot of similar nerdy, geeky interests, and we'd play cool games and do all this stuff. And some of our other friends would come and join us. And so that got me in touch with like this, just childlike kind of fun that I always kind of had, but I'd sort of kind of pushed some of it away. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And so many things started to pour in, right? A lot of wealth, a lot of abundance poured in. And it was just a great kind of season of time in my life. Well, what's interesting about the way we're cyclical and the way that things move in cycles and our karma and our growth was that probably around 2012, I started to kind of like, things started to kind of spiral down again, and they started to get hard. And it was interesting because so much of what I was experiencing was I'd been part of this organization for my whole adult life. And part of me was like, I got to stay with this organization and make sure it changes and make sure it grows. And at the same time, my predecessors, the people who'd been my teachers, they weren't really changing, right? They were not really growing. They were like, no, we're going to keep things the same. And even though I had helped the organization to grow and transform, they didn't want to let go, right? And so instead of me saying, okay, I need to let go and just go do what I should be doing, which I kept getting called to do all these other things with business and with, other areas of prosperity, I kind of dug my heels in and was like, oh, we're going to make this happen and we're going to transform everything. And it ultimately just hurt me. I just went into a deeper state of resentment and eventually anger and depression. And it kind of resulted eventually in me needing to leave the organization in kind of a not so great way.
Yeah, I understand.
Some people even kind of asking me to leave. But what was interesting was that, and I was in, like, after that, gosh, I mean, this is my whole adult life, right? This culture, this group that I was a part of, my whole adult life for 2 decades. And I went into a pretty deep depression and apathy and just this kind of hollow, bitter, kind of resentful place. And it took me a lot of meditation, writing, talking to people. I wrote one of the leaders of that organization a 52-page letter, right? Like this really long letter. I was like, and I made sure it was very clear what I wanted to send so that I wasn't like, angry with it, but just like, here's what needs to be said that just wasn't, like I didn't say and didn't do during my time there, right? And so it took me 2.5, maybe even 3 years to really come out of that. And I kind of have been in these last few years reconnecting with that ease, right? That relaxing into how abundant things can be and how fun things can be, and how, and so much of it has been me coming back around to just saying, okay, who am I now? Who do I want to be, and who am I, and how do I want to express? How do I want to come across? What do I want to give to people? What do I want to draw out of people, right? And doing more things I love to do, and putting myself around people like you and people at the UE and my clients and friends and new friends I've had and old friends I needed to reconnect with, and just allowing more of this joy to come forth, and this ease. And it's so interesting because I still run into anxiety. I still run into challenges. I still run into, some fears. But I mean, even in the last 5-6 months, there's been kind of this opening up. And it's like, I'm making money with cryptocurrency. And I never thought I would be doing that. But my buddy got me into it. And I'm having more fun with clients again. And I'm doing a workshop next week. And I'm having a lot of fun with that. So it's been this crazy ride. But it's for me, the continual growth, right? The continual willingness to be present, the continual just like willingness, to be uncomfortable at times, and knowing it's going to pass. It's not always going to be this, this way or that way, but to make sure that I receive something from each experience is so important. So anyway, that's the simple nutshell kind of version of it. I can dive into different aspects if we want, but so much of what I teach now is this very same thing. Raise your vibration, get in touch with your heart, get in touch with your bliss, follow your bliss, surround yourself with great people. And it can be so easy to receive wealth and abundance of relationships, of health, of money, of opportunities, and really fulfilling why we came here in the first place, right? Which is changing and evolving, but everybody, I believe, can do that. So that's a little bit of my story.
I really relate to your story, and I would even call those 3 years that you were in your darkness, and in the pain and the depression and not knowing, is really what I would call what I went through. I called my dark night of the soul. And I think as a spiritual teacher and as a mindset coach, we both are, we need that dark night of the soul is absolutely necessary to our own evolution, because that creates empathy. You know what it feels like to be in that darkness. I know what that feels like. It's pretty miserable. You're lost. I'll tell you the way I'll share with you. I'll see if this relates to you. I'll share with you how my spiritual teacher helped me through my dark night of the soul, how she explained it. She explained, first of all, how we, when you go through that place of like having to let go of that institution that was part of your adult life, it's like a big wave out of the ocean. We create this huge wave of false identity, really. We create this whole version of who we think we have to be. It is so important that we grow that wave bigger and bigger and bigger. And the bigger we grow it, the closer it gets to the shore. And as it gets closer to the shore, it wants to freeze because it knows as soon as it hits that sand, it's over. It is the end. And so it hits the shore, and then we go in. For me, it was like going, once I hit the shore, I was terrified because I knew it was I didn't know, I'm telling them in past tense, I knew it was going to be there. So when I hit that shore, I descended into my essence. And in that moment, I felt this sense of calm and peace and love and grace that I'd never experienced before. And I knew everything was going to be okay. And I heard this voice inside of my head that said to me, Martin, all these things you're trying to build with this big wave, success, importance, certification with this, all these things that I thought were so important, completely dissolved. And it was like, and his voice in my head said, Martin, none of that stuff matters. All you have to do is show up in life with love and gratitude, and I will do the rest. I, meaning I, the divine part of you. So I did, but it wasn't over there. After that, like you, once I was no longer this version of Martin that I thought I had to be, I didn't know who I was. And the way my speaker says, now you're back in your essence. You're in the ocean. You are what you are, but you don't know how to bring that. So she held me and she guided me. And I think it's what we do as coaches. She guided me through that darkness so that as I began to merge back up out of that, I began to create a new version of Martin, someone that's closer to my essence, someone that realizes that that's where my power is. I don't need to create a big wave. I am the ocean. And I get to create from the ocean. And I get to build from the ocean because that's who I am. I am that abundance of ocean that we are, that abundance of infinite love, creative love energy. That's what we are.
Absolutely.
And I'd love to hear how that lands on you. I mean, in my sort of description of what it was for me and how it might relate to your story, because that's just kind of the story I make up from hearing yours. You know.
Yeah.
So how would you add to that?
Yeah. I like your description of that and that analogy. And I think that here's an interesting thing, right? So a lot of people talk about ego, and I don't think the ego is I don't think my definition of the ego, I don't think is a bad thing. I think the ego is like, it's what we identify with in our physical life, our physical body and our memories and whatever we can allow of a greater source or like our true self can shine through. That's our ego, right? And what I think happens though is that, like what you were saying, that there are aspects of the identity, there's aspects of the ego that we get stuck in or that we get attached to or that are just no longer serving us. And so much of, I really appreciate what you were saying where, yeah, I needed that. And I've had a number of dark nights of the soul, right? This one was just like
we just have these major ones. We get little mini ones every day almost.
Yeah. This one that I'm talking about when I left the organization, left the School of Metaphysics, that one leading up to that time of leaving. And then after, that was just the longest and the worst and the most intense. Right. Mm-hmm. So I had plenty before that, which was kind of nice in some ways because it kind of got me ready for this bigger one. And I've had other ones since then, but I don't think I'll need to have one quite. I think that was like the pinnacle of my lifetime, right? The one that was just like totally kind of going to break me down. And I like what you were saying about that, where we need that to be able to have compassion and empathy for other people. Because I see some people who haven't experienced some of those trials, or maybe they kind of did, but they pushed them away and they never quite fully experienced it. And it is a different level of compassion or different level of viewing other people. But certainly as coaches and mentors, I think it's valuable to have those experiences. So yeah, my identity went through such a big shift. And I think that's the thing that what you're describing, I think, can help people if they can recognize that the ego or the identity needs to be malleable. It needs to be moldable. It needs to be changeable. And when we get stuck thinking, oh, I'm this gender, I'm this person, I'm this socioeconomic status, I'm this from this country, I'm, this religion, or I mean, we can, whatever things we've latched onto as an I am kind of statement. It's okay if you have that and you're kind of awake to it, and you can also allow things in and consider that maybe I'm not just this thing, right? Maybe I'm not just the certain set of identifiers that I have been for most of my life. Then you just, like you said, you become the ocean. I mean, how awesome is that to have? And I really kind of consider that like crown chakra energy, right? Because crown chakra is like being open to all that is, all possibilities. And I know for some people that might be a big concept to really wrap your mind around, or wrap your consciousness around.
You cannot get your mind. The human mind cannot understand infinity. The human brain is infinity. You cannot, like, if you say, what's half of infinity? I'll take a third of infinity. The human mind, all the spiritual domain is way beyond the understanding of the human mind. That's why we need to develop what I call a heart space, an abundant mindset, because that includes the heart, which the mind cannot understand. It can follow, and it sees the value of empathy and love and all that, but it doesn't really get it. It doesn't know how to it doesn't know how to manifest it. Yeah. That's why we have to always go in to include the heart space, which is the ocean, because that's where our power is. That's where our creative power is. But the ego, as we call it, or we can call it the shadow, whatever you want to call it, we're both the same thing. It's the way we need that in order to navigate the planet. We need to have something there that says, wait, there's some danger here. Something's coming up. You need to protect your human existence in some way. So it's all that it's doing. But it's like, who's driving the bus?
Right.
Is my ego in it? And I lived for years where my ego was driving the bus. It was that I had to be a successful businessman, or I had to be this. I had to be important. I had to make all these things that I had to have happen in order to be lovable.
Yeah.
And so my dark night woke me up and said, no, you don't need any of that. You've got everything you know. You are lovable just because you're the ocean.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. We definitely need our egos, our shadows, and those dark sides because we're just pure light. We had nothing to reflect off of.
Right.
But the human experience is about the evolution of the human soul. Of the soul. I don't know if it's a human, maybe it's the human soul. I don't know. That's way beyond my pay grade, but I do know my own experience, and I'm hearing your story. Our whole existence is about the expansion in the evolution of humanity.
Right.
And that's kind of fun, right?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it's funny how we have these indicators, great examples and indicators all around us, and we ignore them. But like looking at kids, I mean, kids, if they are not suppressed or abused, are pure joy, right? Kids just want to play. And I mean, certainly sometimes they can kind of get a little out of hand and maybe even need to like make sure they're not like harming themselves or something, because they can get so like, woo. But looking at how much joy and love children have and how much openness they have, they're like basically just showing us, oh, this is the way we all need to be. We all need to have this same joy for what we're doing. And that can look a little bit different for each person, because one person might find joy in a corporate boardroom, right? If you truly like doing that corporate game and you're just totally into that and it's filling you up and you're like, oh, this is so much fun, go for it. If you also want to be a surfer on the beach somewhere, and that's what, I mean, it does. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a healer, if you're a musician, if you're a manager of a small business, if you're whatever, if it gives you that childlike joy and you're satisfied and you're fulfilled in it, I think that's the key, is that finding that wonder, that curiosity. And I think you said, I forget what it was you said that made me think of this, but like the kids want to learn, they want to grow. I mean, if they want it, and they want it to all be fun, and it's like, and so it's only people who've been overly conditioned by the world and society to like take the fun out of things. It's like anybody who
and we were taught, it's our culture. You got to make good grades, you got to work really hard, there's only a finite amount of resources and money in the world, and if you want your share, you better get out there and you better work harder than anybody else, you better be smarter than everybody else, because you got to win. And that's a really pretty, that does take the fun out of life. And I think that's what you and I both do as coaches. Say, no, that's bull stuff. You're supposed to have joy in your life. You're supposed to. I mean, I love Eckhart Tolle's conditions for anything you do. And I'll give you he gives us, there's 3 things he says we should live. We should only do 3 things. And everybody says one of them is if we don't enjoy it, don't do it. Only do what you enjoy. Only do what you're enthusiastic about. And if you can't be that, you have to accept the fact that you're going to do it because it's going to benefit a higher call. For example, nobody, I know I do not like going out in my backyard and cleaning up after my dog. There's nothing, I don't get enthusiastic about it, and I don't get a lot of joy out of it at all, none. But I can accept doing it because I love my dog, I love my backyard, and I have respect for people coming into my backyard not to step in it. So I do it with joy and gratitude because I have a dog that I love, and while the task itself is not particularly enjoyable, enthusiastic, the outcome provides an opportunity to do something for a bigger cause. And that's have a nice clean backyard that everybody can walk through and enjoy. So to your point, and as a coach, I think that what we would and how we care for people is we walk through and get rid of all that nonsense, all that need to do this and do that. That's not bringing you any joy and enthusiasm. If you really want to create some true wealth, then do what you like. Do what makes you feel good. And if that's running a corporation or running the country, I love watching Joe Biden run the country. I love my words is he's a mystic. And I don't think it's the first time we've ever had a mystic president in the history of humankind, as far as I'm concerned, because he's clearly following the advice of something deeper inside himself that's beyond Joe, I think. That's my observation of him. As a fellow mystic, and I think I would consider you one too, I see that mystical quality in him. That's why he's always projecting optimism into the future. That's what mystics do. And so he's a mystic, and I just think it's great to see leadership right now that's built on what I've called the 4 qualities of leadership, and that is trust and transparency, empathy, compassion, and competency. Something has been lacking in leadership in our world in a long time, both in the corporate, political way. And that's one of the things I think we both get from being part of the entrepreneur. It's leadership on those 4 qualities that make people want to follow us. Those are the people, because the message we're giving is they care about me.
Totally. Absolutely. I mean, everything you're saying, it's spot on. And gosh, yeah, I kind of just to bring it around again to do, like you said, follow in your bliss. I think that's so important. And I kind of like your examples. I mean, I think there are times, you're right. We do some things that maybe are a little bit unpleasant because at first, a lot of things are unpleasant. And when we first, I mean, even a lot of great artists and musicians, when they were first learning their art or their craft or their instrument, at first might have been resistant to that because it's new ways of moving your body or new things that you do. But pretty soon, if you really like it or not, right? It's like it's something that it's like if you enjoy that challenge that you're faced with, and kind of like as entrepreneurs, I know you and I go through this, like there's some things about being an entrepreneur that I love, some things I'm okay with, some things I don't like at all. And I've been turning a lot of those other things I don't like that much, or that I just don't have the time for, over to my VAs and people who, my web lady, my podcasting people, turning those over to people because they're good at them. They seem to like doing it. Right? They do them well. They do them much better than me. And so that frees me up to come on and teach and coach and do things with you and other people, other coaches and other hosts, or have guests on my podcast, or just, do a live or do something I find fun to do. So I think it's so interesting, again, like how what we're all just trying to do is follow our bliss and find the things we love. And if we'll just do that, then everything really works out. I mean, there's this law that I'm big on universal laws. And at the School of Metaphysics, we learned 13 of them. And I've kind of tweaked and refined them to my understanding. But the one that hasn't really changed much is the complete law, or the unified law, which there's a lot of ways to describe it. I feel like one way is like follow your bliss. That's a way to describe it. Or if you're kind of biblical, if you like different holy scriptures, like Jesus would say, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all else will be added unto thee. And I think that's a good way of describing it, because when you're seeking this kingdom of heaven, you're seeking your bliss, you're seeking that which is fulfilling to you, everything else comes to you. And I think that it's just because we're not taught that, most people don't do it. They do those things you talked about, the hard work, the get good grades, all this stuff that's like, well, it's like, that hasn't proven to be 100% accurate for everybody,
No.
probably not even most people. So yeah, this complete law, I think, is so important for people to follow. And when we do, it's like, if you can imagine, like heaven on earth is just everybody doing that. And even when there's challenges, or even
isn't that what
yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
And that's what I love to use, because I am a Christian contemplative. I am a Christian mystic, and I do follow the wisdom teachings of Jesus primarily. And I love the way you're using the word heaven, because what he used the heaven, because like Buddha used spaciousness, emptiness, and that's how when he saw spaciousness. It wasn't a place we go to; it's a place we come from. It is our essence. So I love that. And you know what it is? We've already gone way over. We've gone a little bit over the half hour, which is when we stopped for our meditation. But I knew when we got on here together, you and I were going to have so much fun that the 30 minutes would just fly by. And it has. It's been such a joy. Well, we'll come back and talk a little bit after the meditation. So I'm going to invite you just to sit back, Damian, and be my meditation audience for a little bit. And we're going to go into what was known as heart space. And everybody that's watching, and I know that this is when I lose a lot of people, because the ego doesn't want to go here, because the ego does not want to be quiet. It likes to, as you see, both of us even like to talk, So we're going to be quiet for a little bit, and we're going to tap into that essence of ourselves. And the way I like to do this is I do something called centering prayer, which is something that the Father Keating introduced to the world about 40 years ago, and it's just centering our energy around our heart space. And the heart is that still point within us that connects us to all of creation. And if we can get out of our head and surrender it, and that's what we do, we let go of the thoughts and beliefs and opinions in our head and all the stories we make up about the world. We actually let them go. We surrender them into heart space. And people who teach meditation often teach, you're going to stop thinking. You can't stop thinking. As long as you're alive, the brain is going to think, but you can slow it down. And I'll teach you a little something about how it works. When we think, the tongue vibrates. So one way we can do to slow the thinking is to reverse engineer it and slow down the tongue. And a little technique I like to teach is to do this. Take the tip of your tongue and rest it on the roof of your mouth, just behind your front teeth. Part your lips slightly and relax your jaw, and just breathe naturally, and notice the breath going over and soothing the back of your tongue. Just try it and see what happens. Try not to think about relaxing the tongue. Try to feel the relaxation of the tongue with the breath. And just allow yourself to follow that breath and the relaxation of the tongue to take you deeper and deeper inside yourself. Notice the breath coming in through the nostrils and through the mouth, massaging the tongue, opening up the heart space, and with your belly muscles, pull that breath deep into your belly as an anchor. Use the breath as an anchor to bring your spirit into your body, into this moment. And open up those lower chakras. And just allow the breath, and just allow the mind to refocus on the breath. The in-breath the out breath, the rising and the falling of your rib cage. And notice how it fills up the belly. The belly is like a big balloon. It fills up and then it lets it go. And just make breathing your primary purpose for the next few minutes. Just be still and breathe and listen. And when the brain starts thinking, which it will do, it's really simple. Just open your heart and thank that brilliant brain for all its thinking, all its worrying, all its planning, plotting, etc. And give it a break. Say thank you and let it go. And to create a little bit more space inside of ourselves, we are going to do some what I call belly breaths. So I'm going to set the timer for about 15 more minutes of meditation. We're going to start with some belly breaths. And allow the vibration of that bell to bring you further inside. Feel the bell. Hear the bell. Feel the bell. Bring it into your heart. And the belly breath looks like this. With your tongue resting gently behind your two front teeth on the roof of your mouth slightly started. We're going to use our belly muscles to pull the breath in through the nose and the mouth, across the tongue, into the heart space, and deep into the belly for anchor. You ready? Let's pull it in. Pull it in. Open the heart. And now really expand the belly. Hold it for just a second until it gets a slight bit uncomfortable. And just let it all go. And as you let go of every thought, every opinion, every judgment you have about me, you have about yourself, you have about Damian, you have about the world, you have about God. Let it all go. Hold on to nothing. And allow yourself to fall back into your essence. That beautiful cloud of unknowing. And just feel your way into that space. And begin to listen. As we prepare for one more, or the next, we're going to do 3. The next belly breath. With your belly muscles, pull the breath into the mouth and the nose. Across the tongue. Open up the heart. Really expand. There you go. You need some more breath there, Damian. So breathe it all in. That's what yawns me. I need some more air. And breathe in. Hold it into your breath. Hold it into your belly. Like you hold on to everything. Hold on to control. Hold on to knowing it. Hold on to this. And just let it all go. And you're still here. With a little bit more space. Maybe a little bit more joy. And just feel your way. Feel your way inside. We're going to do one last belly breath, and then I'm going to be quiet for the duration of the meditation, except for the interval bells that are going to wake us up from our thinking, our sleeping, our planning, our plotting, our worrying, whatever we're doing when we get in meditation. And we're just going to smile and let them go and reset and fall back into infinite love. So here's the last belly breath right here. Use your belly muscles to pull the breath into the mouth and through the nose, across the tongue, deep into your heart. Open the heart a little more. Expand the rib cage. Pull the breath deep into the belly. Open up the belly. Really hold it in there and hold it maybe a little bit past comfort. And let it all go. Let everything go. Hold on to nothing. And just know. Be still and know. I am God. Not me, but I am. Oh, there's the sweet sound of that interval bell to wake us up from our thinking, our sleeping, our planning, our plotting, our worrying. And just smile, that brilliant brain of yours, and invite it to let it go. Let it go and soften, and allow yourself to fall back into infinite love consciousness, our essence. There's that interval bell again, that sweet little interval bell to wake us up on our thinking, our plotting, our planning, our sleeping. That's what the brain does. Don't get mad. Just let it go. And allow yourself to fall back into that sweet, sweet, sweet space. The caring arms of the Divine Mother. Divine Mother within you and within me. There's our final bell to bring us back into this world. Welcome back. Good to see you. How you feeling, Damian?
Great, actually. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's nice to go into that space, isn't it?
Oh, it's wonderful, especially in the middle of a busy day, right?
That's why I do it at noon. I have my own practice. I started this out in the morning when I first started doing it, and it interfered with my own practice. And I said, I need my own practice in the morning to get me out of, I call it getting the vultures off my bedpost. I wake up in the morning with the vultures on the bedpost. I wake up, my ego is in a full attack on, I better do this, I better do that, I'm not worthy, and you better do this. And I'm like, nope. Go get my coffee, get my latte, go sit in my rocking chair and watch the sun come up and allow my heart to awaken with the day. And it just makes such a difference. So I moved this to noonday really to teach people how to meditate and how to take exactly what you said, to be able to take a refuge, a break from all of the pain and the suffering and the worry and the drama that was being brought on by the pandemic and everything else that came in our world last year with racism and riots and the attack on our country and everything else. I mean, if we went through a year of pain and suffering and dark night, talk about a collective dark night of the soul. And that's really kind of how I see it. I don't know how you see it, but I see 2020 as kind of a collective dark night of the soul. And for people like you and me who've been through one on a personal basis, I think we were better prepared than many. And that's why I feel like I needed to create this space to guide people through it.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Look where we are. We are in it. I don't know about you, but I think everybody's different than they were before we went into this. And I think for most of us, we are more open, we're more loving, we're more accepting, we're more grateful for life. We see life as more precious, and we don't have to effort quite so much. That's why I think what we do makes so much more sense, because people in some way or other have woken up to the truth that they're pretty magnificent just the way they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This human being is pretty marvelous, pretty magnificent, pretty miraculous. The fact that I can simply go in my kitchen right now and make some pudding. I can take some chocolate powder, some milk, a pan, some heat, and transform all those pieces that wouldn't make sense certainly wouldn't make sense to a monkey, and create a delicious sugar-free chocolate dessert. Is pretty amazing, right? Just those simple little things.
Oh my God. Nice.
So this has been a real joy. I'm sorry it's over. It was like coming to any close here, but I would like, I know that you've got something coming up this week that's pretty important. You're giving a free workshop this week.
Yeah.
I want you to tell the world about that, how people can get to that, how people can get in touch with you, because you're doing some really important work out here right now in the world, in the world of transformation. And I know you got a really exciting workshop coming up, I think next week. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's Monday through Friday. It's a 5-day workshop called Manifest Your Heart's Desire Business Accelerator. And people can, if we can drop a link maybe after this, that would be great, so people can register for that if they want. But it's a 5-day workshop, and you can come live. It's 1:00 p.m. Eastern time, or you can catch the replays. That's fine too. But I'm going to be taking people through an experience each day of going deeper with either transforming their business or starting a business or leveling their business up to the next level or refining it. But things like, their vision for their business, their goals, their purpose, like, why are you doing this anyway? And even some strategy and tactics of like how you're going to get there, and really just to be able to have fun in your business, but also to make it profitable, and so that it's fulfilling your higher purpose. I call it like Dharmapreneurs, right? Dharma is like our sacred duty to the world. It's like why we're here. It's like the essence of why we're here and our greatest strengths. And so I like to help people take those greatest strengths and put them into a business and live that and be prosperous and profitable and have fun with it, and make sure you're serving whomever with your services or your products or whatever it is that you happen to be doing. So that's happening next week. It's going to be so much fun. And I invite just anybody who wants to come hang out to click the registration link and come join in, and you'll get the workbook and get to be just a part of all of that. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm getting some momentum towards it moving now. It's going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm going to be around to support all that because I'm excited about it for you. I know you've been working for this. I know that this is the way you bring care into the world. This is how you care give, and it's free, and it's 5 days, and I think it's not all day. How many hours a day approximately is it?
About an hour, maybe 45 minutes to an hour a day. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Yeah. So it's not a huge time commitment, but knowing you and knowing what you do, I'm sure it'll be a transformative hour at most, at least.
Yeah.
Sure. So thank you for that. And I'm going to just say one thing to make it simple. We will drop the link, but if I know you've got I know you're on Facebook. If people just go to Norman, Damian Nordmann on Facebook, they can find you and they'll find the link. That way
Oh,
they can
totally.
remember, because some people just listen. So it's Damian
Yeah.
Nordmann, Nordmann on Facebook. You'll find him there, and I'm sure you'll find the link.
Yeah, I'm the only Damian Nordmann on the planet, right? DAMIAN NORDMANN. Yeah, look me up on Facebook. You can come into the Dharmapreneurs Facebook group, but spelling my name is super easy, and you can send me a message. I'll send you a link or show you the post that it's in. Totally love to do that.
Okay, great. So hold on for a second. I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to announce a couple things I've got coming up. And so as I am a spiritual teacher, and I'm a prosperity and mindset coach, working largely, almost exclusively with gay, transgender, and bisexual men. And I've created a Facebook group called Financial Heart Space for Gay, Transgender, and Bisexual Men. And the reason why I do that is not to be exclusive, it's to deal with the wounds of gay men. It's a place, it's a sacred space, it's a safe space. But I know from my own experience in life that we have a certain level of woundedness that we need a safe space to work with that. And it's the woundedness that drives our sense of unworthiness. So I created a space specifically for us so we can be vulnerable and we can share our stories. That's what that's about. So that's you. Please join us over there, because we're doing that kind of work in that space. And I do some free workshops over there, and I teach the same thing. I have another place, and this is what's very important for everyone. This includes you, Damon, because I know you're a straight man, an ally. And I have another Facebook group called the Financial Mystics Sanctuary. And that's everybody's welcome in that group. And I do a lot of the teaching in there. And as a matter of fact, this Saturday at 1:00, I am teaching a workshop around my new workbook, the Financial Heart Space Problem Solving Method Workbook. And you can bring your problem, you can get a copy of the workbook, and you can tune in to Zoom, and you can join us for that workshop on Saturday at 1:00. And I love, and that everybody's welcome. That that's going to be broadcast inside the Financial Mystics Sanctuary Facebook group, and both those links are posted close to this video. So I'd love to see you on the inside of that as well. In the meantime, may love and prosperity prevail. Thank you for listening.